Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kam, CM Kam. You can call me CM or Kam, doesn't matter. Today, what I'm going to share with you is basically, it's cybersecurity in a way, but I'm just looking at it from a different angle of things. I think from a cybersecurity perspective, everybody is looking at tools and in terms of how you can defend your network and stuff like that. So basically today in most organizations, I'm sure you have plenty of tools that manages your perimeter security or your servers, whatever assets that you have in your organization, right? But the problem here today is that even though with all that kind of tools already in place, we still see a lot of we still constantly see in newspaper that people been hacked, system been broken in and things like that, ransomware and so on and so forth. So today I want to look at it from an angle of a human perspective, right? So everybody can see my screen. Okay. But before we start, okay. We are talking about, today I'm looking at how Credential is leaking into the dark web. And for that, normally what we do is we actually do scan on the organization that is subscribing to the service, and we tell them what's happening within the dark web, right? So today, if you stay in the end of the seminar, I'll give you a QR code where you can actually scan and put in your details, and we'll give you a free scan on your organization as well. Okay, so the primary attack surface. Today we talk about, first of all, why we look at the primary attack surface. I think these are the areas which is today is very prevalent, and it does attract a lot of attention as far as the cybersecurity is concerned, right? First of all, your employees and executives. These are the people in the organization. They are one of the primary attack surface. And of course, your vendor and supply chain, because you, with the B2B kind of a environment, you actually do open your system for either your supplier or your customer to log in, whether to place an order, to make a payment, or to arrange delivery of your goods, logistics, and things like that. So these are also one of the the attack surface. Of course, your finance and HR team will be the biggest target, because they are the one who holds a lot of information in terms of who and what, and also in terms of dollar and cents in the organization, right? Remote and third party, as I mentioned earlier, is part of supply chain, right? This way you allow people to log into your system for the purpose of doing a transaction and doing business. It's part and parcel of business nowadays, right? Without I think, well, if it's not 100%, it's probably a good 90% of businesses allow such a thing to happen, especially from a payment gateway perspective, right? So where's that? When we talk about architecture of deception, what are we talking about? We are talking about credential phishing, right? Meaning that people will try to actually harvest your credential in a way by phishing. Means trying to get you to give up your credential in a way, right? So many times, like mimicking an enterprise SSO, right? Sometimes there's a lot of a so-called site mimicking nowadays, where you log in, it looks like your very familiar enterprise login, and you put in your credential, like your ID and password, stuff like that, and it's already stolen. Right, MFA fatigue. This is another area that a lot of organizations that I've spoken to just inform us saying, look, we have a multi-factor authentication. Like what you do is that what multi-factor is basically a second or third factor depending how you implement it, right? So what it does that you're supposed to do approval, right? Maybe like your banking transaction or whatever, you actually need to approve it. Right. So some of this thing, now the bad actors or the hackers, I call the bad actors, because what they do is that they will find at odd hours and to do this. Like example, if you have a system that is running in an organization that actually alerts you when there's they sense something is wrong. So when these hackers, these bad actors does it, they do it at a wee early morning, right? 2, 3 a.m. They send you an alert. So you probably look at it and say, oh, this alert. First of all, first thing you would probably do is try to check on it. If you are one of the person that manages the system, right? You probably check on it and say, hey, look what's happening. So you found nothing and you go back to sleep. Again, they'll do it. They'll do it constantly until you get fed up, say, there must be a false positive, and you just switch it off. That's when the attack will start, right? And of course, the deepfake identity now is with AI. It's actually not that difficult to impersonate someone in terms of visual and also in terms of audio. So these are the areas, if you notice, they're all targeting at people. Nobody's targeting technology anymore. Nobody's trying to break your firewall. Nobody trying to break your DLP system, your firewall, whatever security system that you have in place, right? So, but you see, our traditional tools like we are still looking at how do you protect your asset, right? How do I protect my server? How do I protect my users' machine and things like that? We are all talking about that. That's all technology part, right? With all the technology part, here's the problem, right? When we still find exposed employee credential in the dark web, right? Their credential are still circulating and people are still selling it. What does it mean? It simply means that whatever that you have in place in your traditional security system, something is not correct. Something is really wrong. So because things are still being exposed, means that credentials are still being stolen. So this again, as I said, is technology. This has to do a lot how you implement the technology, but it's really nobody's fault in the sense that because business is dynamic, right? When dynamic system means that you do constant changes, whether you upgrade your servers, whether you change you patch your servers, whether you deploy new application. When all these things happen, there tend to be areas that are maybe not properly secured, and things like that do happen. And of course, the more so-called the way that most people are doing now, this is actually through phishing, right? So the credential economy is basically that 81% of our hacking-related breaches are actually credential related, right? Because it's easy. When I have a credential to log into a system, I'm actually logging in as a legal user of the system. When you log in as a legal user of the system, does the system actually stop you from logging in, doing anything? Likely no. So you bypass any kind of security that's already in place. You probably the only hurdle that you probably come about is the access right, on to what extent of access the credential that's stolen has within the internal system, right? So activities are normal. I mean, none of your internal security system will give you an alert. Probably if let's say you have something like a user entity behavior kind of a solution, they'll probably say, hey, look, this is a bit abnormal, but they will not stop you yet. They'll just track what is happening, right? Before they feel that something's really wrong and they actually block the credential. So that's how attackers are doing nowadays. They are smart enough to know that, look, it's really no point like trying to break a firewall or any kind of a defense system, but rather it's easier to steal a credential because currently with AI, it's very easy to profile anybody within any organization, right? You just run a profile from AI, say, look, I want to know everything about this person, find the sources from LinkedIn, from Facebook, and they are able to do that very fast and give you a very good information about this person, the likes and the dislike, where he works, what his title, and especially, it's very true because nowadays people tend to advertise themselves a lot. Because why? A lot maybe because for a reason that you're looking for a job, or the reason that you need to build a company business. So you have to have yourself a presence in the digital world, right? That's also just a positive side when you look at it. Negative side is that it's also for the bad hats to profile you is rather easy. Right. So attackers actually follow opportunities. because I think from my experience with with discussion with all sizes of company, these are the I want to do a quick comparison here. It's like SMB segment and the enterprise segment. When people in the SMB segment, they think that, hey, look, I'm small. Nobody will really target me. So that's where I think the perception is very wrong, because in the SMB, because you're small, your identity monitoring is also low. You do not have a sophisticated system of enterprise to really manage that. So it's easy. You have to understand that attackers do not care about the size of the company. What they care is what kind of data you have and how valuable is it to you. So because the end goal is to make money out of you, right? Whether you're a small SMB, but if I were to be able to break a system and lock everybody out and demand certain kind of payment, it can be 10,000 US, it can be 5,000 US, doesn't matter. You still pay because you need to have access to the system. You need to unlock the system to run a business, right? So for attack surface is limited control for SMB. They do not have probably the structure in terms of having a security analyst or security people within the structure. They probably have a PC support person or IT manager that manages everything within the SMB, right? Of course, we're not talking about the bigger SMB. Probably is a bit more well equipped, right? And exposure risk is very high. It's easy to compromise because you have lack of security, lack of system, and lack of monitoring capabilities. It's easy. So in contrast to that, for the larger organization, it's more complex and fragmented. If you look at this, for a larger organization, is in a way is the opposite of the smaller SMB, but they are high target because they have a lot of high value data, which is valuable to the attackers, right? As I said, the end goal is very simple. The end goal is just to make money out of you. If there's nothing to make, no money to make out of an organization, nobody really can't care to really attack you, because those days when you're doing it for fame is over. Nobody does that anymore. Okay. So that's where we come into play. I'd like to introduce Shadow Sentry, right? What we do is we look at external credential visibility, whether we can find things floating around, whether in the surface web or in the dark web, right? So we look at how identity leakage is happening, and we also try to find out where is the root cause of it, like how is it leaking and where is it leaking from and things like that, right? So I'll just go through what the solution really does and see whether how it can it does actually help all kind of sizes of organization, depending on what is your what each of every organization look at the importance of it as well, right? So what does it do? First of all, if you understand that we are most of the time today, or most of us, okay, most of the common people or most of the users of devices, you're always at the surface area of the web. You use your daily Google and whatever that your browser and things that you do. It's all very surface of the internet. Of the internet, it's actually the surface of the web. But what we are looking at, surface of the web is important. It's actually part of layer one, what we call the surface, where people actually do share credential as well. Because today, if you look at it from a surface perspective, there are areas that you actually can get information as well about credential of people and things like that. This is one of the areas we look at. Of course, then we look at the second layer, which is the meta forum. I'll go through all this a bit more detail in the next few slides, right? And the third one is the closed group, which is actually even the deepest area of the dark web. And the deepest of all is the P2P communication layer, right? So how do we do it? Basically, we do that by having different kind of techniques and technology in place, like probes, sensors, to monitor all these areas. Because from a competitive standpoint, right? When I say competitive, there are solutions out there you probably have heard of, maybe even may be using today, that tells you that we have something like that. I've spoken to financial institutions as well. They do have, but they are not real time. Right? Some of them have a solution, but they are on schedule scan. Means that they scan based on a schedule. It can be a weekly scan or monthly scan. I don't know, whatever the schedule that is that is scheduled for it. Right? But we do it on a real time. Means online 24/7. Okay, let's go a bit of what I said earlier. Is the surface area. That's where everybody's very familiar with, right? It's publicly indexed, means that the content can be searched via Google. If today you go and you go to Google and try to search for leak credential, you'll probably find some organization or that offers that. But these are all leaks database, meaning you see that the credentials are probably very old and it's have a very little value, right? The only value when you do a leak database scan is that you know if you can find your own organization credentials in that leak before, meaning say that you were probably targeted before, right? Whether it's successful or not, you do not know. And generally speaking, nobody actually knows because the info stealer or malware, whatever you are familiar with, may still be in the system. You just don't know, right? It's probably all the so-called the bad actors will think that, look, it's not the right time yet, right? Probably they have not gathered enough information to really to break the bank, so to call, right? Because it's no point attacking somebody and at the end of the day you get nothing out of it. The idea is that I need enough information to attack you so that I get something out of it. That's the end goal, right? These are low barriers. Anyone can join, right? Anyone can join. You don't need to be invited or anything like that. You can join and do whatever you need to do, right? And the volume is normally very high because this so-called low value means that all this leak can be from a very long time. It can be from years ago, but they're still circulating. You know, it's like our social media. You know, sometimes we see the same information again and again. Yeah, it's just that that's the digital world. Sorry. Right. So these are basically traditional scraping tool where most companies will just scrape and try to sell you as a service, low cost service, where some companies just subscribe to it. As I said, that there isn't very much value, but there's still some value because you will know that whether you were target previously or not, formerly before, right? May not be a target today, but anything that is new today, you likely will not see in the surface web, right? Then we go to layer 2, the web forum. The web forum are normally they are for professional cyber criminals. Okay, they are restricted entry kind of the environment where you need to be invited in, right? So they also need to be a proof of work. Means you are actually you have actually done some of this so-called infiltration work before, and you have value information before. You can be even invited to the forum. It's like a forum group, right? Used by cyber criminals, right? And they are actually market focused, right? So the infiltration rate is a bit more difficult. It's medium because you don't get invited to such forum openly. You are either recommended or things like that. So what they really do is that they will check for reputation ranking. Means, as I mentioned before, they kind of have point system. Right? They give you certain points for what kind of actor you are in terms of what have you done, what kind of previous so-called job have you done, right? In some cases, the administrator actually vet this individual and see their credential, whether they are real or not, and things like that. And this, as I mentioned before, it's only by invite. Right? You can't say, I want to join. It's not like Facebook, right? You can request to join, but nobody's going to allow you in because it's purely by invitation only. Then we come to layer 3. This is the quite a deep area. It's a persistent forum. Normally, in this area, a lot of things actually do happen. Right? They are actually a group discussion. These are like attackers group forum where they are actually planning an attack. Right? So information in this group are actually of very high value. Infiltration is very difficult here. Again, it must be by invitation and or people that you must know. But as far as the dark web is concerned, it's not like our surface web where you go and download a browser and look for something. It's very different. It's running on a Tor network, and this is a very different network altogether. And you want to be as invisible as you can when in this area of the web, right? In a dark web world, visibility is a liability. It's not, you try to be as invisible as possible. You want to be a high-profile person that people are looking at, things like that, for a very good reason, right? Last but not least is the P2P communication. This is the more like, I call it invisible core, because it's really a node-to-node communication. There's no central server. It's not like a WhatsApp, right? You send everything to a central server. There's a WhatsApp server before it's shared with your friends, family, or whatever. There's actually no central server. It's actually a node-to-node communication, meaning you say that these are very private communication, right? And it's actually used for nation state attack. People have this preference because they cannot be traced. It's very easy. They can't really be traced, and you cannot take down anything. There's no central server to take down. You can say it looks there's an IP here, you take it down, and every day lost communication. There's no such thing, right? So there's no takedown point. So this infiltration difficult is extremely difficult. So you really need a lot of a insider kind of communication, or you must be in a way high ranking within the dark web to even have this area of communication. Besides that, the P2P communication also involves things like, when any system that's infiltrated by malware or by info stealers, the kind of malware, right? They need to send it somewhere. That's where is the point-to-point communication. It's not a central server where they collect stuff, because where they collect the data is actually initiated by the back to the server. They can start up a collection server anywhere that they please, and it's for the purpose of communication with all the info stealers on information that they steal only, right? So that's the channel that we also monitor, right? So for that, what we have will be very up to date. So this is how I will share with you. So in the normal circumstances, in a lot of I put it as my competitor today, when there's a breach occurs, right? What it does is that the credential will flow through private layers, means to one of those layers that I mentioned earlier. So during that flow, it takes time, right? Goes there, somebody have a look at it, right? Then it starts appearing in the public forum market, or forum or marketplace where transactions start to happen. People probably try to sell you a list of credentials and things like that. Then our competitor will do a scan. They try to do indexing to all the data that they have. Okay. Then before the necessary thing are put into the area. Example, if you're subscribing to a leaked database, then you'll probably find a leaked database, and that can be weeks later or sometimes months later. And for that matter, normally leaked database are area that people do recycle old credential for the sake, because you don't know. For a very simple question, if I put forward to the attendees here, right? If today, when was the last time that you changed your password for maybe your Gmail? When was it the last time you changed for it? It can be years ago, right? So all this old credential can still be useful sometime, right? But what we are saying that normally for businesses, when you take about 4 to 6 weeks to actually detect this, it can be too late already. When it's too late, means that somebody maybe have infiltrated your system, understand more about your system, and they are probably maybe attacking your system already, right? But in our case, it's a bit different, because as I mentioned, we monitor all the 4 layers of the dark web. So the moment a breach occurs, we will detect it. We do not go through a normal process. And with the AI engine in place, what it does is you will just correlate all the breaches or the information we found, and make sense of it and send it to whichever organization that we are providing service to. Why I say that? Because a breach doesn't mean that in our normal circumstances, you think, oh, a breach will come in a long string of information, or this is a company name, this is a credential. It doesn't come like that. It can come in bits and pieces, and somebody actually have to make sense of it. That's how the AI engine will come and play, where it makes sense of things that the breach from different sources, a different level of the web, make sense of it. If it's related to a company, you reflect to it immediately, right? Some of this flagging can happen within hours, but in a worst case scenario, probably within days. Right? It won't be weeks, right? So that gives you sufficient time to actually act on it, to understand that, look, we have a breach, we need to do something about it, and hopefully that it can still prevent a big situation that is not so favorable to the organization, right? So how we really do it, as I mentioned, open forum, we look at open forum, we look at vetted forum, we look at closed group, and P2P network, as I mentioned earlier. And the AI correlation engine will look at all these numbers. Some of bits and pieces of this information may be flowing in different level in terms in the web. The AI engine will correlate that and make sense of it, whether it's a credential, whether it's a fingerprinting kind of thing, session cookies, right? And eventually make sense of it and say that, okay, this belongs to ABC company, DEF company, is indexed, kept in the proper database. And if any of this thing that is related to your organization that has subscribed to the service, it will be flagged. It will be sent to your dashboard, and you see that, hey, look, this is something new, right? And you can actually action on it. Your incident response team can actually look at it and try to make sense of it. I'm going to share with you the shadow sentry output sample, but I have to put a disclaimer, okay? The disclaimer that whatever I'm going to share with you is basically what you can see in the real world. But information that here is a mix and match. Why I put this way, so that I can explain better to you. Example, right? First of all, it's scanned through a domain name. If you look at this domain name here, is Citibank, right? But Citibank has more than one domain. Meaning you say that there's citi.com, there's citibank.com, there's a citigroup.com. So these are different domains, but still related to the same organization, right? To the financial institution called Citi. Right? So this so for any organization, normally there will be a different domain name. If your organization only have one domain name, you probably need to scan only one. If you have multiple, then you need to scan the multiple domain. These are all primary domains. Not subdomain, primary domains only is the area that we scan, because anyway. And the scan date is really, if you look at it, is approximately about a year. Okay, these are configurable. You can do a scan for 6 months or whatever. But this, I say, is the first time when a first time scan report, you see something like we need to put in the date range so that you understand how far back you want to see data from your own organization, right? Compromised devices are basically the devices that we found compromised. Let's say in this scan is this number here, but it's not related to Citibank. As I said, I only show it to you so that you understand. And from an exposed credential, there are 3 areas that we look at. One is the employee credential, and the domain means that these are your own employees' credential, means that people are logging to a domain, your employees logging into your own domain. Then there are customer credential on your domain, meaning you say that they are the domain that you open for a customer to interact with you, right? As I say, it can be paying a bill, it can be requesting for a quotation, it can be submitting a purchase order, whatever, right? And the employee credential, third-party service. This is a more or less that whether you have a credential, your own employee credential that's floating in third-party services. Third-party services can be, maybe you're subscribing to a web service like Microsoft O365. This is third-party service considered, right? And from there, of course, because on the scan, we can see what kind of credential and what kind of loss. We are able to tell what the strength of the password and things like that, right? So also from a scan, what we are able to tell you is that which are the area exposure, right? Like security token service exposure, what is the number of account from a mail server, how many credential how many so-called credentials are found there, and so on, so on. Microsoft 365, Salesforce, whatever. This is only a sample, I say. So it gives you an idea where are the area the credential mostly leaked, and maybe you will want to relook at that particular system and see how we manage it. And another one that we will also share with you, or able to share with you, is that when are the leaks? When is it peaked at? Which year? Which month? Right? In this case, probably the latest leak were found somewhere in January. This was leak. The credential will leak somewhere in January, so it's quite recent. For banks, may not be too much of a concern because they do have this password policy change every 3 months. But for most organizations, we don't have this policy. It could be a concern because it's very recent, right? So why is it so recent? We will know because it's basically a leak. How is it leaked? I'll show you in the next slide. Okay, this is an example how a leak information that we'll share will look like, right? First of all, we'll give you an IP, so you know where is this this machine, especially this is a device, a computer, and where is it logging from, right? It can be, let's say, your IP is pointing to China, to Russia, to the US, to Europe. So you know that this machine is logging from that location. Do you have people working there? Do you have a customer there? That gives you an idea, right? What's the computer name that you assign the computer? What kind of operating system it runs on? And the malware path is where this info sealer called Luma C2 sits in this device. So we even give you the path, so that if, let's say, this information are found leaking or floating in the dark web. So by doing so, so-called the team that manages this can actually look for this particular machine and look for this particular path and look for this particular stealer type, right? Then they can actually rectify it. And they can also use this same name because stealer type normally, when they sit in this, they kind of path, right? They are normally consistent across the board, right? Means if you have more than one machine that's infected, they're all sitting in the same way. So you can actually use this to do a threat hunt within your own environment and see where they sit, right? So what type of credential are lost? Over here, for this particular device, what we can see that, okay, this device is logging into this URL, means this site. Okay, the username, they're using this username and this password. Of course, in the production system, we can actually see the password, but for the purpose of this, we will blank it out. You're not sure, and now also blank out the so-called domain name because it's a real domain, a real leak. So these are all the information you can see. If we have time in a while, I'll just quickly run a quick one and show you. Okay, so the visibility gap is very simple, right? For internal system, you have SIEM, you have your SIEM, you have EDR system, and whatever other security tools. But what do? They detect activities inside your organization. Activities means that abnormal activities, right? Your perimeter security is like your single sign-on, your multi-factor authentication of validates access at time, and also maybe you have access management that actually validates the user, right? But what we are looking at is really external from what you are doing internally. And again, as I said, all these are looking for like infiltration or things that is abnormal. But if you log in with a valid credential, nothing is abnormal, but it's actually very normal. So of course, NDA is very simple. For anybody who are impacted or any business that impacted, we are talking about that brand damage, right? These are brand that you probably built over many years. Once you're infiltrated and this goes public, your brand is in a way damaged. More importantly, financial loss, operational loss, and the biggest part is now regulation like our PDPA or the Cybersecurity Act. You can actually serve a jail term, right? So as I mentioned earlier, this is the screen that you can, this is the QR you can scan, right? By scanning this QR, do enter your necessary information and we'll give you a complimentary scan, and then we can connect later to share the report to you. And can actually walk through it and understand where you are today, your company is, whether you have infiltration or you have a lost credential in the past or current, and what are possibly of you being attacked in the near future. Right, as I mentioned to you, let's see what we can do. Let me see. Areas. I can share. Oops, not here. Okay, look at here. Here. So let's see whether I can find something here for you now. Okay, maybe we can just do a quick quick one here. It's like we look for top value. Top value companies. High value. So we do a search. Companies, okay, we look at the value of company to the market cap, right? Let's log into it and see what we can see. Sorry, it's a bit slow. Okay, then you can see that now the highest market cap value in Malaysia, Simi Bank, so on and so forth. So we just pick probably just pick one and see. Okay, Mr. DIY. Okay, Mr. DIY. Everybody knows who is Mr. DIY, right? So let's find out who is Mr. DIY in terms of what's the domain name. Mr. DIY. So their domain is called mrdiy.com.my. Right. So mrdiy.com.my, you do a scan on them. Okay. Oops. I don't know what's happening. Sorry. Something weird is happening here. Where will be this? Mr. DIY. Value company. What happened to the ID? I don't know. Okay. It's Mr. DIY.com.my. So let's scan it for a year. So now it's May. And company is also Mr. DIY. So information is required. Of course, you have to enter the domain that needs to be scanned. So, and also that the date range that you want to scan it. And of course, for identification purposes, who are you scanning? So let's run this scan and see what we can find on this company. Okay, interesting, right? So Mr. DIY, we do not we do not see any employees lead, but we see a lot of customer lead, right? And I said this is for 1 year scan. Domain name is Mr. DIY, and the latest lead is somewhere 16th of May. So today is the 21st. So these are pretty recent, right? This is like an IP address. This is the okay. As I mentioned, we do not see everything. We only see what's floating in the internet or in the dark web. So in this case, we do not see where is the path of the malware, but we know what kind of malware is it. It's called a red line malware, right? So it gives you a bit about the device itself, and it gives you the URL that this particular device is logging in, what's the ID, and what's the password. So this is a sample of what we do in a scan. And if you enter your information based on what I shared with you earlier, okay, you scan this one, enter information, we'll do a same scan for you, and we'll send you the result based on the information you enter. If you give us your email in there, we'll send to you, and we can discuss whether if it's required. So that's about that I have to share with you today. So I think it's a Q&A time. Right. Any question?
Kang, I have a question for you, right? So when you take this identity exposure finding to the C-suite or to the board, what usually happen in that room? I think many of us still have a challenge. How shall I address this conversation upstairs to my board?
Well, I mean, that depends. I mean, from a perspective of information that you share, of course, is valid. There could be a question like, how do you get this information? Why are you scanning me? That kind of thing, you know. Are you like breaking down my network and things like that? Which the answer, of course, is no. We are scanning you based on whatever's available today in the internet already, right? Already floating in the dark web. We did not touch your system. We did not come into your environment. So I think the C-suite level need to understand one, that, and number two is what's the exposure is it to the company and what's the risk that they are facing today, right? They can either really do something about it, which they should, or if they choose to ignore it, there's nothing much I think anybody can do until something bad happens. Hope that answers the question.
Yeah. Thanks.
Any other question? No? Well, anyway, if there's no question, doesn't matter. What I want to tell you is that really, I mean, this is something that I think that companies has, in my point of view, company has spent a lot of money in cybersecurity tools to defend their network, to defend their environment, right? But these are mainly perimeter security, and it gets a bit more difficult when you start moving yourself into the cloud area, right? You're engaging in cloud services, cloud application, things like that. So when you go into cloud, means the control is not so much of yours, but to the provider. So it's very important for you to know at what stage your company's at as far as the underworld of the dark web is concerned, right? If let's say you really do find credential floating in there, you just need to take action, because when it does break, example like in 2025, when there is a credential leak and actually hit mentioned this 𝗪𝗧𝗥𝗟, is really bad, right? The system goes down, you can't, booking system goes down, display system goes down. That's not all, right? That is disruption to flights, disruption to passengers and things like that. Can you imagine if a plane is trying to land and suddenly the radar system of plane goes off? That's actually a danger to your life, right? Besides that, I mean, that's the two sets of the problem here today. And on the second part, on the Malaysian airport side, there was a ransomware where system were locked out and they were asked to pay quite a high value of ransom. I believe something now US 100 million or something like that, which is a lot of money, right? So do not assume that for a small organization you will not have impact. The impact can be, well, it can be like a simple disruption. You don't get to buy and sell for the next 10 days or more, depending on what system already in place for you to manage, right? So it's up to how everybody sees. Not everybody may see this as the most important thing in the world, but trust me, it is. Because today, nobody tries to break into your system anymore. It's too difficult, right? Because with technology, with AI, trying to manage your system, it's kind of difficult. But it's easier to do a social engineering and steal a credential that eventually share the credential or log in to your system with a credential, a legal credential. None of the security tool will really stop it. And yeah, that's how things breaks. So anyway, thank you very much for your time. I think I should stop here. And should there be any question, please do actually send us email, contact me to email, WhatsApp, LinkedIn, whichever means that is convenient or comfortable to you, and we'll address it. Thank you very much.